Hello again, and welcome to another edition of Media Watch. I'm your co-host, Tait.
I'm Bob Anthony.
And I'm Raymond Peterson.
Once again, we're pre-taping, this time the Thursday before our Monday air, and we'll try to do some kind of perspective analysis or listserv of what's breaking in the news, what may not be breaking in the news that we think you should know about. But
yes. Well, first of all, it's good to have us at full strength. We've been traveling and we've been elsewhere, so it's good to have the group together.
Yeah.
It's good to be here.
And, like commercial brought to you by Manhattan Neighborhood Network and EVT Educational Productions, Inc. And so for me, the media analysis story is the George Stephanopoulos interview. Bob, So I don't want to even get into the stupidity that came out of the interview. Let's get into how the media handled the interview.
Well, I mean, and Eric, you and I had a conversation about this on the phone, and basically everybody knows what happened. It was a long-winded, 30 consecutive hours with the president?
30 hours. And they didn't air, obviously, all of it.
But he had, total access. And, I mean, he was in on meetings. He was in the car as he traveled around, and it was
surprisingly so. Yeah, I found that very interesting that he was allowed that kind of access.
Cinema verite. Cinema verite access to the president.
But it wasn't really verite because, the president's not that kind of guy.
It wasn't verite.
Yeah. Okay, let's leave it at that.
But there was a lot of access.
Yes, there was a lot of access.
There was a lot of access.
And it was surprising that it was George Stephanopoulos, a former Clinton aide back in the day, was allowed to be the person to have that kind of access.
ABC News as opposed to Fox.
Yes,
News,
yeah. So that, on the face of it, was a bit of a surprise. And then, like you said, let's not get into the drivel that came out of it, but in how the drivel got out, which I think is an interesting story.
But the thing that I was questioning, in terms of the access, well, he gave him access because he knows he's not going to, Trump, gives Stephanopoulos access because he knows what he's going to be presenting to him.
Sure.
And if George says something that happens to ring true, well, our liar-in-chief is just going to lie about it anyway. He's going to say whatever he wants to say. So he actually had no vulnerability in this.
Well, I mean,
no, seriously.
No, it's not about vulnerability. But I hear what you're saying about the fact that he lies about everything. But the point you're trying to make, Bob.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a package. He had a package of stuff he wanted to showcase, and he showcased that package. So he,
100%.
So yeah,
commercial for him.
I get your point, but in an interview like this, you would figure that ABC, the network, would try to have the absolute exclusive on this. In other words, they would come with little teasers. You want to hear what the president said during the 30 hours of access? Tune in to ABC at 8 o'clock on Monday. But that didn't happen here because what was said was so outrageous and egregious that ABC just made it a press release and they gave everybody the content the same day.
Yeah,
ahead of their own broadcast because it was such an amazing set of statements. That doesn't happen in network news. If Rather or anybody,
they're
Jeff
going to keep their exclusive, of course.
Yeah. But they let this out as practically a half hour after he said it.
It was like a pool shoot.
Yeah.
Pretty much, I'm with you on that, Bob, in that I don't believe Stephanopoulos had even packed up all his stuff from wherever he was on the White House ground before he was saying to ABC News, this man is cuckoo and told me some cuckoo things, and we need to put this out for the American public. And so before Stephanopoulos even got back to the house at ABC was saying, oh yes, your president really just put his foot into it. You need to hear this, folks. And guess what? We'll give it to you.
Yes. So that was my stunning. We're news people, so we recognize things like that. When I'm watching CBS and I see the ABC logo over the interview, and we notice that something's wrong here.
No, absolutely.
We're getting and CBS is leading with it, leading with ABC's.
Everybody was leading with this stupidity. It was just so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, even late into the evening, MSNBC, CNN, everybody was running snippets.
Yes.
Sure.
Of this whacked out green orange dodo saying
it ran the news
stupid crap
line this week. It
because
was the story of the week.
It was just so egregious was the word you use, and it was like, what dumb pill did he take before he did the interview?
Right.
For him to come out with such stupid crap. It was just unbelievable to me, and it was unbelievable to Stephanopoulos. And so Stephanopoulos said to the ABC people, put this crap out.
Yes.
This is the American public needs to see this nonsense. And so that took up a good bit of the news cycle after that interview was done. And then when the interview aired in its almost whatever packaged entirety was, there was just still more stupidity coming out of it.
Right.
But
it couldn't have sold better. I mean, by letting it go and making sure everyone had it, people were going to watch now, no matter what.
Yeah. Did we learn anything from it? Was there anything new other than Mr. Trump beating his drum?
That he lies? Because right after...
I mean, we know that.
After the pushback came, it was... Oh, no. Of course we'd have to take it to the FBI. Of course.
Yes.
But I might still want to hear it. Yes. I still want to hear this. But it's interesting. We're taping Thursday, I think Wednesday night. Stephen Colbert was doing a monologue where he was actually praising Bret Baier of Fox News for actually talking about the content of that interview in its, and he went back to his truthiness or whatever.
Okay.
You remember the old Colbert character we talk about his truthiness? He said, well, I think Bret Baier was going down the truth. What's that word? Truth word. It was like Fox News actually had to talk real news, not fake news about this interview. And I think he was giving Bret Baier praise for standing up to a Trump pushback about the interview. It was just bizarre watching this thing play out in the media. It was just I mean I don't mind taking this much time in a show called Media Watch to talk about the media's response to what was truly of the most one. We've seen this guy do and say bizarre things before he got elected and doubling and tripling down after he got elected. But that interview was just...
It was one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. I could only watch snippets of it at a time because it was just so absurd. And listening to the lies, I just cannot believe how a human being can lie like that, knowing that he's... Well, maybe he believes he's telling the truth. I don't know. But and Stephanopoulos challenges on him something, and he says, "Oh, now you're being a little wise guy or a little
something to that effect,
right? Something as
fake news again." And that's another thing I want to talk about on the show at some point about what's happening with the media and how the media is being attacked thanks to Mr. Trump. Right. And they're getting killed overseas.
His kickoff campaign. All right, okay, let's segue. Let's segue from as much as I don't want this guy to take up all our ether. But no, that's a perfect segue for real. So after the debacle of the thing, he goes, okay, well, I'm going back to my base. I'm going to launch my re-election campaign, which basically that was Wednesday night, the night before we are taping, and so he went into his thing, but. Part of his shtick was from the 2016 revisit, which is the fake news media, the bad news media in the world. So tell us your
my thing is that, I texted you something this afternoon. It's his speech has caused a certain population in this country to believe that there is no real news, that all news is fake.
Right.
And I saw this clip that I sent you. A guy in the street wearing his MAGA hat. It was at a beginning of a rally outside of the rally center, and he starts to physically attack this reporter. Wow. Now, when did this become okay in this country?
Right. Exactly.
It became okay in Donald Trump's re-election campaign bid, where people were cold cocking folks who were in Donald Trump's rallies.
Yes.
You forget that?
Yeah.
No, I didn't forget that.
This is my
I didn't forget that.
It became
those are thugs and vandals who attack other people.
They were his followers at his rallies.
Yes, but The press is part of the establishment.
No. You mean the fake news press that's in the
right.
That's
what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Then eggs people on and
That's what
actually
I'm talking
said,
about.
remember this, folks.
My contemporaries.
I will pay your legal fees if you get in trouble, if you assault. Basically, that's what he said.
That's exactly what he said.
You understand what I'm saying?
You're
asking when did this become? I'm telling you because you seem to have fallen into a memory lapse.
No, there's no memory lapse. No memory lapse. I was around when they were arresting and my friends and stuff for burning down ROTC offices.
I'm talking about when were you allowed to attack the press with impunity?
Yeah.
It became
Never.
the rigor
Until this.
2016.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
All right.
I mean, we've had
people used to believe the news.
We have covered this guy's full assault on journalists and journalism in more than one show.
Right.
And we
will continue, I'm sure.
And we'll have to continue to do it because
it's not stopping.
that's his playbook, and he relaunched his new campaign. See, here we go again comparing media coverage, but it was the comedians who actually did it. Trevor Noah, on his take on the Trump relaunch, he put up the 2016 campaign rally and the relaunch rally on a split screen, and he started playing the sound bites. And at one point, the exact sound bites were coming out of the screen.
Tell the difference.
I'm looking at this, and I'm really laughing because I'm saying this is just so ridiculously stupid, and it is just so hysterical that this guy can get up and say the same crap to this same audience, and they stand there and give him the exact same response.
And we have this conversation. He deals in slogans. He repeats slogans. He repeats catchwords.
Those were the slogans that he was repeating from 2016 last night.
All he has to say is lock. In the old days it was lock her up.
Well, no, last night they were yelling lock her up too.
Yes. Did you? Do you believe that?
This is why.
I mean, she's not even in the picture anymore.
They went and revisited this thing.
But it's good for a cheer. And
fake Hillary.
Oh yeah. Look,
but it's gotten into our society, and we had this discussion a couple of weeks ago about the San Francisco case where a reporter's apartment was ransacked by police, and he's created a condition where the media isn't respected. Yeah. The police chief had to come back like a week later and say, this was an amazing mistake. This was an astounding, I don't know how this got started.
Horrendous.
And how it got done, but our president has created this atmosphere where that becomes easy. Yeah. Where you and I get a tip on something and all of a sudden we're in danger of either...
Well, what was the assault at that outside rally? They attacked a reporter by snatching his cell phone?
No, he actually hit the guy. I think he tried to knock the cell phone out of his hand. Obviously, the view was from the reporter's cell phone. Okay. And all you see is like a hand coming at it and going off camera like that, but he immediately recovered.
What was the takedown finally? What did the police do?
Two of the security agents, I don't know if either of them were sworn in law officers, but they both had on uniforms and some sort of a badge.
Some type.
Some kind of mall or wherever they were, security came up to this gentleman who started the argument, and you couldn't hear what they were saying, but they were obviously saying, well, you can't do that here, and they were telling him to go that way, but they were keeping him basically.
He wasn't
they were
arrested.
protected.
He was just removed.
I don't know. The video ended shortly after that. But at least they did step in and didn't join in.
So there we are. As much as we're trying to deal with real news, we have to deal with stupid news based on stupid actions by stupid people in office. That's the only way I can phrase this.
And it overwhelms the news cycle to the point where a lot of the stories we try to deal with just has no hope of getting out.
Of course, we can barely get to interesting breaking news that actually we need to bring to people's attention, because it looks like one of the things that I was really impressed in last week when this airs, the New York Times, their roundup was very, very on target with a lot of stories that had been in the news way back that people had forgotten and been on the back burner, but because of the breaking coverage, one of the key ones was one I wanted you to look into was the MH17, the 2014 shoot down by the Ukrainian separatist group, which is basically a front for the Russians. The Dutch formed an international investigative committee that was made up of the nations who had people on that plane. What was it, 298 people? At least 293, maybe 298 people lost their lives. That's counting the crew members.
Many nations.
And so I think Malaysia was on the task force, the Dutch were on it, other nationalities, other nations, and they came together and they did this, and they've been investigating this thing. And the initial reports were, it looked like a missile from Russia, but they went down and they pinned it down to the fact that they could tell you what type missile it was, what type launcher it was, and then they named 3 particular. Were you able to call up the names of the
names?
I saw that story. Yeah, they named the specifics.
3 specific Russians that were tied to the trail of that missile, and were responsible for getting that missile to those folk in that separatist group that were shooting supposedly at military aircraft, but they definitely shot down an airliner with civilians on it, and immediately the first footprint said that's a Russian missile, and the Russians denied it, of course.
Well, but I read that it was identified as a Buck missile, B-U-K, and I also read in the same article that that particular rocket launcher that would fire this particular missile was seen in a nearby town that afternoon.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no,
so
that was part of the early reporting. What this latest reporting talked about was the fact that because it takes a specific type of truck assembly launcher,
it's a specific kind of launcher.
You got to get that from the Russian military.
Exactly.
And you got to get the okay from certain people in the Russian hierarchy to get that to cross a border, etc. So what they did, the investigators went back and they named you who those 3 Russians were.
I saw that.
That were in the chain of command that allowed that to happen. And so that's why they have placed the blame squarely on the Russians for the shoot down of that airline. The Russian government saying, we're denying it, but
the 3 men named were one was directly connected to whatever their secret service was at the time, and the other 2 were directly connected to Russian military intelligence.
Yes.
So,
and they knew who they were.
Come on, yeah,
and they named
exactly.
them. Okay. And guess what? They're going to try them. They don't expect them to be extradited.
They won't be extradited.
But the judge said, we'll be trying them in absentia. And maybe we might be able to get a hold of them. But I definitely wanted to get that story out, because when that thing hit, we covered it as part of the way we were covering how the press was not really reporting the Ukrainian story with any real depth or any real objectivity. At one point, you'd get the entire U.S. party line on what was going on in Ukraine. And then at the other point, we'd have to say, but wait, there's all kinds of different factions going on in there. And who is this guy and who is this person? And is this guy the front for the Russian? Oh, yeah, he is the front for the Russian. It was a very difficult story to report. But what we were trying to do, and I think we did a fairly decent job of saying, there's more to the story than meets the eye. It's not just black and white. And the Russians should not be annexing Crimea, and they should not be backing separatists in Ukraine. But when the plane got shot down, everything hit the fan. And so it was a matter of who's going to take the weight for this. And this investigation has been going on for 2.5 years.
At least,
of course, the plane got shot down in 2014. It's 2019 now. So the bottom line is they have done their work and they have named their culprits. And now the follow-up will be, when do they get tried and how do we get them to justice?
Now, they've named the people, but have they blamed it on were they targeting something, or are they saying that it was incompetence, that they were so bad that they couldn't identify
The theory was that they might have thought that it was a military plane.
Even though it was in the colors of a...
They actually think that
as Eric says to me, you're using logic?
They were so stupid, but were so arrogant that they shot whatever it was anyway, thinking it was military.
That's astounding. I mean, it's not like they don't have have technology.
It's bizarre.
There was so many different ways you could have identified that plane.
Yeah.
And you could even track where it took off from to prove it wasn't military. So it's astounding.
That was another interesting story that
Beacon would have told you it wasn't military.
Right.
You know,
that's what I mean. There's so many little
exactly
points of technology that would tell you. And if you saw it visually,
if you saw it on radar, it would have told them that it wasn't.
Yes.
You know, and if you saw it visually, well, the coloring of the plane and the markings, you would have known.
Now, to pick up on another major story that we covered extensively, and the latest development is the UN Rapporteur for, I forget, Middle East affairs, I don't know the title, but they came out with another advancement on the Jamal Khassoggi story.
Oh.
Basically, the United Nations expert called for an investigation into the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in the killing of the dissident Jamal Khassoggi.
Yeah, but we've been calling for that since it happened.
No. People have been saying he's
they've
probably
been saying
involved.
it. Yeah, okay.
But here's the difference. The UN Special Rapporteur has called for an investigation of this man's involvement. That is an official
That
now
is
thing.
official, yeah.
Now, Donald Trump and Mike Pompeo are saying, we don't know anything about this guy being involved. We could care less, and we're going to continue selling Saudi arms, et cetera, et cetera. The UN says...
And next week it's going to become fake news.
Right.
And,
you know what? It's going to become fake news unless we say, guess what? The UN has said this guy needs to be investigated. And if we say it, and the rest of the news media say it, he can keep saying fake news all he wants. But guess what? You know, the truth will out.
Right.
So that's why we're here. That's why we do what we do.
But it's another example of the way the U.S. is going down in international standing. We have the Dutch that comes up with the investigation into the plane. We have the UN coming up with the facts of this case. And we have our own government saying, oh, you know what, it could have been something else. And so it's tough to be an American in international affairs at this point. It's
tough to be an American.
Period.
True. I know, a U.S. citizen. Never mind. We ain't gonna blame all the Americans on this asshole.
I travel overseas with a Canadian T-shirt. So
there we go.
Hey, listen, I'm serious.
I have quite a lot of respect.
It's very interesting because to bring it full circle, we talk about this guy launching his re-election campaign, and he went to Orlando to launch his re-election campaign. But guess what? What's the paper down there? The Orlando Sentinel?
The Sentinel.
The Sentinel, basically, knowing this guy was coming down to launch his campaign, they put out an editorial the day before he came down to launch his campaign, and they said, we will not endorse right now, but right now it'll definitely not be Donald Trump. Okay? They came right out and said it will not be him.
That one.
And part of the reasoning there's because of this man's presidency, we have lost our standing in the global presence across the globe. They went down the reasons why, and basically what you were just saying. As far as our presence on the globe, this guy has destroyed it. And that's one of the main reasons why they are not. They didn't say they were going to endorse any Democrats. They said, just, because they're a conservative, Republican-leaning newspaper. That's where they stand.
Right.
They're not telling you.
That's where they are.
We're not changing our political.
But I think they would like to maintain their integrity.
Well, that's why they said we're not endorsing this man.
Okay. And I would like to see more of that.
I find that quite refreshing.
Yes.
And it would be nice if the people in the Orlando area flocked. Oh, it wasn't a sold-out rally, by the way. Colbert said he sent his people.
Really? I thought it was sold out. People were hanging from the rafters.
This is why I love watching late-night comedians. Colbert said, we sent our truthy team, whatever he called his team, and guess what? They denied him press credentials.
Really?
They denied him press credentials.
Can't imagine.
So our guys were a little disappointed, but you know what? They went around the corner and they just bought tickets to the rally. Guess what? There were plenty of seats available. Yeah. I just fell out.
I love that.
So all that fake news that you were hearing about, sold out rally, we have to do a rally outside the rally for the people who can't get into the rally. Guess what? Not sold out. People could walk up and buy tickets after the rally started, and Colbert's people went up, bought their tickets, went in with their cameras.
Excellent.
I'm not sure if they sell tickets. I think the rallies are free.
Oh,
but
okay.
there is a media section.
But you got it. Oh no, but they give you press credentials.
Right.
They denied
That's what I'm
Colbert's
saying.
people.
So they couldn't get
said,
to the media
Let
section.
me go get some tickets. They went and got the tickets. Whether they
Yeah.
bought them or just got them
That's
handed
what I'm
out,
saying.
but they
got
just
the
got
tickets.
it.
But it's even worse than that. They were free and they didn't fill up the building.
There you go. So
And they probably serve
if you want to
food,
hear
too.
about fake news, folk, the big lie, because he does deal in big lies, was another big lie about his pre-sold out rally. Okay, it wasn't sold out.
No, all of his rallies are sold out.
It wasn't overflowing, and it wasn't filled, and there were evidently
Sort
some
of
empty
like-
seats in there too.
Sort of like the Washington Mall on Inauguration Day.
So to get away from the orange monster sucking up all the air, what some of the other stories we thought we needed to talk about. We know we got some stuff. Oh, there's one that's probably not getting a lot of play, but I'm sorry I didn't watch those hearings, but 30 years ago there was a movement in Congress that was presented to form a commission to investigate whether there's a need for reparations to be paid to
Right.
Oh, guess what? One of the congressional leaders put it on the floor for more hearings to look into whether that commission should again be formed.
Right.
Let's not look at reparations. Let's just have a hearing about forming a commission to look into reparations.
Right.
And so they had these long, drawn-out hearings yesterday. And there were a lot of people like Hisi Coates and some other people testifying. But one of the things that I picked up, I didn't watch the hearings, but I saw some snippet of something where Mitch McConnell came out and said, we don't need any reparations because Barack Obama got elected president.
Yes.
And I went, oh, okay. The gnome who stymies every piece of legislation has spoken. No need for reparations because Barack Obama got elected
Did you notice how he spit the words out? It was hard for him to say that.
Well, I don't think he can do
Did
it
you actually
without
see it?
spitting
You
those
saw it when
words
he said
out.
it? I missed the thing.
It seemed like it hurt McConnell's chin to say that we had an African American president.
Right. But he could say it so he could say, but we ain't going to do any reparations because we had one.
And we have 45 seconds.
Yeah, well.
Oh, geez.
They're going to pay us with the Susan B. Anthony dollars, the $20, yes.
Okay. We don't have enough time to really go into that.
But we can, yes.
Go ahead, hit it.
No, 30 seconds.
30 seconds? No, I'm just going to say, no, I was making a very poor joke, folks.
Oh, yeah.
No need to repeat.
No, it was about the dollar bill.
The Susan B. Anthony $20 bill, which is now postponed.
No.
That's what I was talking about.
Harriet Tubman.
And they postponed that supposedly congressionally for another 6 years.
Yeah,
so
6
15
years.
seconds.
We'll dig
Susan
into
B.
that. But
Anthony,
this has been
Jesus.
Media Watch, folks. I'm your co-host, Eric Tait.
I'm Bob Anthony.
And I'm Raymond Peterson.
Catch us on YouTube.
On Media Watch EVT, same name on Twitter.
Okay. Catch you the next time, folks.